Hey everybody, welcome to Drive Thru Review 819. Today we have a little bit of a different review. So if you've been with the channel for a while, you're going to be like, what the heck is he talking about? And if you're new to the channel, you somehow found it through the algorithm or something, this is not my normal review. So today we're going to take a look at the Ayn Thor, particularly the Max version. This is a little clamshell, flippy video game handheld console. So little preamble, I'll timestamp all this stuff, so if you get bored of the different parts, then you can skip ahead. But I'll do a small review of this, just a little bit of kind of an overview, kind of my general impressions of it, and kind of the way that I'm approaching it. I'll also have some, I'll call it more professional reviewers that typically review this kind of stuff. I'll put some links to their videos below. And then I'll also do a little bit of a game showcase of PC games that actually run on here under either the Winlator emulator or the Gamehub emulator, which actually downloads your Steam games right to the device itself. Now this is an Android device, and if you followed the channel recently, over the last like 2 years, I've been getting into doing the JRPGs specifically, or just RPGs in general, but more specifically the JRPGs. And so through that process, I had a big video at the end of last year talking about like the 26 JRPGs that I completed in 2024 and all that. I'll have links to all this stuff below. And a lot of viewers were like, hey, you should really check out the 3DS because there's a lot of games on there. There's a lot of JRPGs that are just really great, you know, regardless of what console they're on. They're kind of like stuck on that console because of the whole, you know, two-screen situation that you can see here. So the 3DS and the old Nintendo DS had a lot of great games on there. So I started kind of rabbit holing down there, got myself a 3DS XL, modded it, and then checked it out, and I was like really impressed with it. And then through that process, kind of rabbit holed down through a variety of different handhelds, and this is a brand new one that just came out from AYN. There's been a few handhelds recently and upcoming that have the dual screen bit to it, and so this is a way that you can kind of run those games emulated and also with like increased resolution and performance in some ways, and some different things like that. So as I kind of was working my way through the various handhelds, which I'll just give you kind of a brief history of. So first I had the 3DS XL, a modded version of that. I bought that pretty cheap for about 180 bucks in Japan, and it was basically brand new off of eBay. I mean, it was obviously used, but it was just meticulous and just, you know, you couldn't ask for a better quality used handheld. So got into that, got into the process of modding that, which is pretty easy. And then as I rabbit holed into just other YouTube channels and things, I picked up a Battle XP G350, which is a very, very cheap device, $35 to $40 about now. And it's a very simple kind of low power Unix-based or Linux-based device that you can run a lot of the old systems like Game Boy Advance, Nintendo, Super Nintendo, all that kind of stuff. And I was like, you know, let me get one of these, you know, little retro handhelds that I'm always seeing kind of now that I've YouTubed and looked at certain things, the algorithm is just like blasting me. And I found out, oh, there's actually like some legit companies here. They're not just like shovelware, you know, hardware. And there's a lot of YouTube channels that are really great that are devoted to kind of, you know, researching and reviewing these kinds of things. And this was like a really cheap one to get into. And I said, let me just get with it, throw on a custom firmware, and, you know, play around with it and see if I kind of like it, which I really did. But unfortunately for the G350, the screen was I think it's a 3.5-inch screen. It was just like a little too small. I've got like kind of old man eyes, and so I was like, God, this is a really good handheld. The screen's a really good quality, and gosh, it was $35. And, you know, I can put some of these old ROM backups and stuff like that on there. And so I said, okay, there's kind of a next step up, which is the Anbernic, I'm going to screw up the acronym here, the RGXX40V. I'll have pictures of this on the screen, of course. And it's a little bit bigger. It was just a few bucks more. It was $55, that one. And it had a 4-inch screen on it. It also had a joystick. So it had the normal D-pad and buttons, and then one single joystick. And that one was really, really cool. And I really liked that one. Just a little bit more powerful in terms of like the chip and the computing than the Battle XP. So I was like, oh, this one's really cool. I really like this one. And then they come out with the Flip 2. And so at some point in here, I'm getting ahead of myself here. Actually, I had a Switch, which I then modded. So I was like, okay, well, I modded the 3DS. I can do the Switch, right? And unfortunately with the Switch you needed a soldered component. I'm not doing that at all. So I sent it away to a guy who soldered that component in for me, and then I was able to do all of the software stuff myself. And got that and installed Android on it, and kind of had like a dual boot thing going on, and was really getting into it. And but it just really wasn't quite there, but it did kind of introduce me to running Android on one of these kinds of devices, and kind of what some of the pitfalls were, and sort of how the usability was, and how I felt, you know, comfort wise with it. But the performance of the Switch, which is like a 10-year-old device, just wasn't quite there. So then I was like, okay, so as I'm going along, I'm just selling these devices off. So I don't have, this is the only device I have here right now. So I've been getting them and selling them, and people like it when you know, you put custom firmware on there and stuff. They're like, oh, I don't have to do all that. So you can sell them for a little bit of a markup, not much, but you know, it kind of helps pay for itself. So after I gone through the Battle XP, the RG XX40V, the modded Switch, then I got a Flip 2, a Retroid Pocket Flip 2. And that was like a pure Android handheld, very similar in shape and form to this one, and played around with that one. And it was like, great. I had the 3DS, the new 3DS XL, which was modded, and then the Flip 2. And I had like all this stuff, and you know, I was able to play a lot of different games. I talked about them on my podcast. I'll do another kind of end of year, you know, what games did you play this year video, as far as the video games go. And so I was having a really good time with that. Well, then this come out, the Ayn Thor, which is kind of like you took a 3DS XL and combined it with the Flip 2 and made it a little bit more powerful than the Flip 2 and a lot more powerful than the 3DS XL. And it's all in one device here. And so that's where I'm at now. So I've gotten rid of those other devices, the 3DS and the Flip 2, and now I'm living with this one. And this can basically play quote unquote anything, which we'll do a little bit of a showcase here before, but that's a little bit of like the handheld journey and how I got here. It's not really something that I've been into that long, just for about a year. And but it's all the viewer's fault because I played all those JRPGs a year ago, and then a good number of people were like, you got to check out the 3DS. There is just a treasure trove of RPGs that are on the 3DS and also the 2DS, and that you're just going to miss out on because, you know, they just haven't ported those up because of the two screens. Now the nice thing about this, kind of the TLDR, is it has the two screen thing to cover the 3DS and the 2DS, but it's powerful enough that it can play all kinds of stuff. It could play anything from like the lowest level Game Boy Color, all the way up to Nintendo Switch, and a lot of PC games, which I've not seen a lot of people talk about the PC angle of it. And it plays a lot of Steam games and stuff like that, even really brand new ones. Now, it won't break the bank in terms of the performance of like, you know, Elden Ring or Doom Dark Ages or anything like that, but you can also stream those. So it's really, to me, I know the title of this video is a little bit, it's not really clickbaity because I believe it. Like, I think this is the best console like that ever has been. And, you know, I'm not a professional critical person about this type of thing. That's what the board games are for. But anyway, enough of me kind of rambling. Let's go down and take a look at the thing. I'll do the kind of the PC game showcase, which I think really kind of pushed it over the edge for me. But let's go down and talk about it a little bit. And I don't think you'll come back up and see my head here. Okay, just a couple of things about kind of the device itself, first of all. So here's the device kind of as it is. Now, my hands are a little bit on the big side. So AYN does provide this grip here, which I'll just show you. We're going to put that on. And then that is going to provide a little bit extra grippiness there, and also make it just a little bit easier. So instead of your hands like being cramped in on the sides here, you can flare them out and then reach the trigger buttons here, which are on the back there. So that, I think, is almost a necessity. The other thing you'll just notice here, let me just close this up. Take a look there. You can see on the back here, I have this little stylus here. Now this is not provided by AYN. I got this on Amazon, which I'll put a link to below. I think it cost me like $5. And it comes with a little bit of adhesive tape here. It sits right in the middle of the trigger, so you're not gonna be, you know, bothered by it too much. Now the last thing I wanna show you, as far as accessories go, there is a dock. So I just took this out. I have this on my TV, and this does have video out, so you can, well, right now you can't close this up and then dock it like so, because it goes to sleep, which is what you want. But ideally, in the future, you'll be able to dock it in here. hard to do that behind the camera there. So you dock that in, and then you'd be able to shut that down and then play it like that. For now, you have to actually have this open, but they have said that they are working on a firmware update for this so that you don't have to do that. So of course, the nice thing about that is you can play this on the go, close it up, seal it up so it's protected, throw it in your pocket and in your backpack, or you can come home, dock it on your big screen TV, use a Bluetooth controller. I use a PlayStation DualShock controller, and then use that. So if I want to play the games that you'll see here on the TV, then that's easy to go. All right, I will say the one criticism I have of this, and I've seen a lot of the other reviewers talk about that, are these triggers here. So you can see this is, this little clicker, the bumper, it wraps all the way around there, where this trigger, which is like an analog trigger, doesn't wrap around. And even with the grip, it's still like not 100% ideal for playing like a first-person shooter. But honestly, that's it. So if I'm playing like a third-person open world game or something like that, or just about any other game, the controls and the ergonomics of it with the grip is perfectly fine for me. It's just, I've streamed, Doom Dark Ages from GeForce Now, and it's like a little bit rough, but I don't know, I also kind of have gotten used to it. But I would say that'd be the one thing. If somebody does mod up some kind of like little extension, maybe you can 3D print it or something just to make this like a little bit more protruding, which I can see why they didn't, because they want to kind of make it, boxy and enclosed and easy to carry. But if somebody prints something like that, then I'll be all for it. All right, so let's just jump in here. So I have this thing called Emulation Station front end, and this is just like a little thing that you can run here. And you can see this, stuff can open up on the bottom screen and the top screen. So I can click that, open that up on the bottom screen, and then drive it down here. I can go up here and it'll switch, and I could like run YouTube, in the background while I'm, playing a game or something if I really wanted to. So the nice thing about that, and kind of the whole point of me making this video, is remember I said, oh look, you can dock it here, you can take it on the go, and it's very, very powerful. So it has kind of it lives in both worlds, and I think it does it in a really cool way. So right now, let's look at a game. So I've been playing this game here, Dragon Warrior Monsters. And this is an old Game Boy game. This is a great little like pick up and play it for 10 minutes, 15 minutes, whatever you want to do. And it's just a cool little kind of like monster collecting game from however long ago. And you can see I've got some shaders on here with some LCD pixeling and stuff like that you can apply. And it's pretty cool. And so you can also like, shut off that bottom screen if you want to save some power. But it has this ability to, have this kind of portable, fun, Game Boy-esque type of situation going on. Or you can play something like, a Game Boy Advance game. You can see it kind of fills up the screen nicely here. And so you got a whole library of these games if you've got the ROM backups for them. And, just fun little portable, cool experience that you can take with you on the go or on a trip or something like that. And then of course you got the dual screen experience, which is like the whole reason for this. And this is a brand new thing, in kind of the retro gaming world right now, is having these handhelds that are super just elegant and easy to put together and set up and play these old, two screen games. Like here I've got Dragon Quest IV that I'm running on here. And it's just great because you can emulate these and put them on a single screen, even like a big screen, but it's just not really ideal to do. And so now I've had a chance to play a little bit of the way through Dragon Quest IV, and I'm really enjoying this with this. And this is the Melon DS emulator here. And then I just wanted to show the game that kind of started it all, because a lot of folks said, yo, you got to check out Shin Megami Tensei 4. And I was like, oh, that looks really cool, because I really liked Shin Megami Tensei 3 Nocturne, which I played last year on the PC. And I was like, okay, and the only way to play this and a few of the other games in the series is to be, on the 3DS. So it's just a really cool little game here. And this is playing at like, I don't know, the increased resolution and so on. But yeah, I had to, unfortunately, I'm like right at the beginning because I had to restart my save. There was no way to, as far as I know, to port my save over from my actual 3DS, which was kind of a bummer because I was a decent way into it. but I just want to show a little bit of gameplay here. Yeah, I guess I didn't save. I know I did a little bit further than this because this is like the very, very beginning here. But yeah, this is the game that really kind of triggered this whole rabbit hole of handheld consoles and all this stuff here. Because I really wanted to play this game, and it's a really fun game, a very interesting type of thing. So yeah, I just wanted to show that. Now let's jump into the PC showcase. And because a lot of videos are out there about different emulation, emulating PlayStation 2, GameCube, Switch, all this kind of stuff. And now we've got the really nice experience for the dual handhelds, the DS and 3DS. But this thing is so powerful, and this is the max version. So there's a few different versions of this. I'll have links to it below. I'm not affiliated or anything, and I'm not getting any money for this. But you've got some different models of it, different SKUs. So some have more RAM, and they also have more built-in storage. And this is the max. This is like the biggest one you can get. It has a 1 terabyte of internal storage, and I have a 1 terabyte SD card inside. And I believe it has 16 gigs of RAM. And these run the Snapdragon Gen 2 something or other chip, which is a really nice chip. And I think it's in the ballpark of a Steam Deck in terms of power. Now, I could be way off my rocker with that, but it seems to be pretty close. So there's a couple things you can do. I have a lot of these different apps in here. Let me just shut this screen off. And so you've got xCloud, Better xCloud, which is good for your Game Pass. Gamehub Lite, which I'll show you. That's basically Steam for this. GeForce Now, which is another streaming thing. And then Steam Link, which I can play games right off of my PC on here. And then Winlator, which is sort of like it's just exactly what it sounds like, a Windows emulator. So I want to focus on Gamehub Lite and Winlator. Now the rest of these are streaming, XPass or Game Pass and GeForce Now and so on. But Gamehub Lite and Winlator, and I have the Frost version of Winlator. There's a few different variants. I've found the most success with the Winlator-Frost. And so I'm going to talk about the different settings and things like that. So Winlator, it's a little bit more of a manual process, and I won't give you a full Winlator tutorial here, but I would just suggest going and looking some of that up. It's pretty straightforward. I'll give you some general overviews of it, but I want to save that for last because that is a little bit more work. And then we're going to go into Gamehub Lite here. Now this is connected to my Steam account. Okay, and you can see all of the different games here that I've got installed on this device. So if we just wait for that to load up, there we go. Scroll down, so I've got a lot of different things here. And this is kind of a new frontier in kind of the retro handheld emulation type of thing. So I just want to run through some of these. There's about 30 games, and I'll timestamp them all. And then you can get kind of a sense of, again, something that is high powered, can do some pretty decent games on PC, as well as, all the way down to Game Boy games. And this is something you can just kind of throw in your pocket with your grip or whatever you want to do, be on the go, or come home and then play, Skyrim or whatever if you want docked on your big TV. So let's jump into the first game here, Fallout New Vegas. And in here, this is now downloaded, it's running on the device itself. And we're just going to take a look at the settings on these. And so I'm just going to kind of show you the settings this first time, and then I'll just kind of skim through them here. So this compatibility tab is where you really want to live in. This is where you'll be changing it. You won't mess with anything too much on these other tabs here, usually at all. So we're going to go here. So you can see, I think this is the default one, the Proton 9.0. And then this one here, this translation params. You can see there's these different ones up here. So we have game presets, compatible, stable, performance, extreme. Most of the time that's set to game presets, which this one was. I don't ever mess with the D input library. We go down here to GPU driver. I think this is like almost latest. Yeah, so I usually use this one, or there's a default one, which I usually try to run everything as default and then tweak anything that I have to see if it works. And the Gamehub here that I'm showing you is Gamehub Lite. Okay, so you want to look up Gamehub Lite and get the download, and I'll have a link right to it so you don't go to the wrong one. But it'll go right to their GitHub page. You can download it and install it onto an Android device. And it doesn't have to be a Thor, it could be any Android device. You want to use Gamehub Lite, in my opinion, because the full Gamehub has some interesting sort of spyware seeming types of things that it's installed with it. And so this is a fork of that. So I would go with this. So anyway, the default driver that it comes with, I'll show you in a minute. Usually this is set to pulse. You might mess with these DX VK version, and then the VK D3D version here. You might play with that a little bit. And then I'll just boot this in here. And sometimes I'll skip ahead in the video, but sometimes it takes a little bit of time to boot these in. But once I'm into these, there's like almost no loading times, and you'll see that 99% of these run with a great frame rate. I'll show you one that's like a little bit less than I would want, but it's still definitely playable. So this will load up. Now just to interlude, it will download any kind of like updated Steamworks and things like that that go with the game. It also will sync your cloud saves. That's the one advantage here the Gamehub Lite has over Winlator. And I'll talk about why I had used Winlator for some games in a minute. But this is nice because it will sync your cloud save. So I can play on this, I can go back to my PC, or if I stream it later via Steam Link or GeForce Now or something like that instead, then I won't lose my save there. So we'll go ahead and click this little funny thing with the Fallout games here. Okay, so I'm gonna zoom in a little bit. Now some of the games, I haven't figured out why some do and some don't. Like this will show me the FPS. You can see it's not doing anything but at the title screen, but it's running at 60 FPS. Shows you kind of the GPU usage. But let's kind of zoom in this so you can get a kind of a better feel. So here we are, we're in the gameplay. We can see we're getting about 30 frames per second here. And yeah, so it's running really smooth. On a lot of these games, the in-game graphics settings, I will back out and basically turn everything all the way down. So low, low shadows, all that kind of stuff, ambient occlusion, full screen anti-aliasing, all that kind of stuff. And just kind of work from there. So you can see there's a little bit of shadows on this one. I think this one I've got pretty much back up to high. But since the screen is so small here, then, it's not a big deal. Like it looks still really good because it's a very pixel dense type of screen here. So anyway, that's Fallout 4 there. We'll go to the next game. Now the next thing to know, you notice you didn't see that with the Fallout 4 one. This says perfect support. This is Skyrim. So if I go over here, I can check the compatibility, and you can see that right there. And it'll give you some information. Sometimes it might say playable or not playable, or just say unknown on a lot of them because it's still pretty new. So this is kind of nice. You can browse your Steam library once you're logged into this and see like, oh, which one of these have really good support. So we'll actually go ahead and take a look at the PC settings here. I think these is pretty much default. So we'll just see. There's the Proton 9.0. Turnip. Now this is the original driver. See the 2500R1. That's kind of like the default driver that comes with that. And most of the time I leave it on that. And all of this, I think everything in here is just default. This just worked right out of the box. I downloaded it and it just worked. And I'm just realizing it now as I look through this. What you're seeing on the camera here is not really doing it justice because this is an OLED. I think it's technically an AMOLED screen. And it just looks absolutely fantastic. So, think of a Steam Deck OLED or Switch OLED or something like that. It's got that kind of deep, rich colors and all those kinds of things there. And so, yeah, I'm looking through the viewfinder. I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty good, but I don't know. It looks way better in person. So, but you can see we're running here a good plus 40, 50 frames per second. And we have some good, decent textures. I think I have to set it medium, and then we're going to chase some elk there maybe, or some moose. But yeah, so you can see that one there. Just by default, everything works really good. Now this is East Origin. I just skipped right to the game because this is also default settings here. So there's nothing really, it's just one you downloaded and it just started working. And so this is just one I've beat already, and now I'm just doing some New Game Plus stuff here. A little bit of an older game, but I want to show like a variety of different games, that you can play, because the PC game isn't always just a AAA title. And this is a really nice game. This just looks beautiful on the screen. I think it's like a 10 or 15-year-old game, but it's one of my favorite style of games here. Here we'll just have a little boss fight I have with this unlocked character, just so you can see a little bit of action here. This is one of the first bosses of the game, I think. It might be the first. But this is on a new character. So let's jump around a bit. You can kind of see. Very hard to control it like this. Now this one is Alien Isolation. This is not what I would call a modern AAA game, but I think it used to be AAA. So if we take a look here, okay, yeah, this one I did change it to Proton 10. And then this is translation set to game presets, which is the default. I hardly mess with that, but sometimes I do. This is the default drivers, and I think the 2.3.1 DXVK and 212 Direct 3D thing, I think those are default. So the only thing I had to update here was the Proton version. Okay, so a couple of things about this game. It runs really well, very smoothly. So we'll get in here. It's a very dark game, so it might be reflecting back on itself with the camera here. But a couple things that I did. I actually put the grip on here to let it sit, so now I've got it sitting, because the one thing to note is, let's just turn around and look. You see the fan there. If you don't have this like little ridge here, if you lay it flat on the ground like that, you're going to be covering up the fan hole. And the reason I mention that is because when some of these games kick on, it gets a little bit, the fan kicks on, because it's not like an Android phone. This has like, you know, cooling system in it. So one thing that I do, just so we know, is you've got a performance mode. I always want to leave it on performance. So you can do high performance, which is going to tax your system, you know, more than normal. I don't really feel like doing that, and I haven't run into any problems where a game, you know, wouldn't work unless it was on high performance. I just leave it on performance. And then I leave the fan on smart. So when it needs to kick on, it will kick on. And when it doesn't need to kick on, it will kick off. So it's not making a bunch of fan noise the whole time. So just a couple little tidbits there. So anyway, this game is kind of slow and methodical. It's not a lot of action, but it is a very well detailed game. And you're probably seeing me in the reflection because it's so dark. But yeah, this works really well in here. I played about an hour of this on this device. And yeah, I was pretty impressed that it was able to run here. It's a little hard to control like I'm doing here. But yeah, just that one Proton change to get this working. Next, we're going to check East 8, Lacrimosa of Donna. This is a little bit of an older game, but it's still a popular game. Let's see, also Proton 10 change there. Original driver, everything else is the same. So just the Proton change. So we'll fire this up. Okay, so this one, I'm gonna die. I have this save on like Insano, Inferno, hard mode or whatever. I've already beat the game on normal. One thing that's weird is this one has a bar across the top, like it's in a window. I can't get, how to get it to go away. So let's let this up, and then Joel is going to die because you can't even get hit once. But you can see this one is just absolutely stunningly beautiful in my opinion. Let's see, like I need to pay attention so I don't just because I could just play this for a while because this is one of my favorite games of all time. So yeah, but I just want to see, you can see some of the action. He's gonna die. I think he did die. Now she's gonna do her work. But yeah, this is like fast pace, you know, lots of action on the screen type of game, and it just runs absolutely beautiful in here. And so I'm very excited to be able to play this on the go. You know, sometimes I go into office for work. I work from home mostly, but I sometimes do go into the office, and this is good like on a lunch break or something like that. And then I can sync my you know, my cloud save back up, and it's great. It's fantastic. I got my old complete games and stuff on here, and now I'm dead because it's too hard to play this way. And then this one is Chrono Trigger, which you're like, okay, why are you showing me this? Well, because I want to show you a lot of stuff. So this one I did have to change the Proton to 10 on that one, and I think everything else is the same. Yeah, that's all default stuff. So we'll just fire this up. I'll just let some of the full motion video play. And the reason I'm showing this is because it's, you know, it's a very, very lightweight game. It's originally a Super Nintendo game. But from everything that I've heard, the best way to play this game is on PC. Like, it has the best port of the game because it has a lot of this full motion video and other little anime cutscenes and stuff like that. And this is a game that I want to replay. I got it on a sale, and I played it as a child, and you know, for the Super Nintendo. So I just wanted to show, like, hey, you know, it's not always about playing the AAA, you know, big time full 3D graphics game. Sometimes there is a particular type of game that's on PC that you want to play the PC version of. That might actually, you know, you can do that now with one of these handheld devices. So I'm not going to show too much more of the game because we all kind of know what Chrono Trigger is all about. So another game that's a little bit old, Tales of Vesperia. This is the new definitive edition, so it's a remake or remaster, I guess. The only thing again on this one is the Proton, is the 10.0 version. So we'll go ahead and fire this one up. Okay, let's see if we can not die doing this guy. Here we go. Get a little combat going. So this is one of those action RPGs. You kind of run around and then you get into a combat. All right. So let's get into a newer game. This is Scarlet Nexus. I think this is a couple of years old. Let's see, again, Proton 10 on there. This is the default driver. I think everything else in here is the same. And this one I know for a fact I went through, because I just did this one earlier today, just to kind of see if it works. This is another one I got really cheap on a Steam sale. And this is, everything is set to low. I can see where I might be able to bump it up a little bit. And you can see this one is like a little bit off on the frame rate. The frame rate doesn't actually display up here. I'm not sure why. Let's get into some actual gameplay. We'll skip that little cutscene there. So you can see it's not terrible. Like, it's not bad. And I've done some combat with it, where in this game where you're like kind of tossing vehicles around, and there's a lot of kinetic and chaotic combat and stuff like that. You can see there's a lot of stuff going on the screen here, all this traffic, all these different people, and so you kind of a little bit of a slowdown when you kind of view into some, I mean, there's a lot going on. This is a pretty new game, but I'm pretty surprised how well it runs. There we go. Here's some possible combat. I'm gonna do horrible at this. Let's see what happens. Okay, this is going to be hard to control with I keep it on the screen. But you can see here, it's not bad. I'm not doing very good. Let's throw some stuff at this guy. There we go. Yeah. So you can see it, and the combat is kind of instanced too. It's not like you're loading up open world type of combat. I'm just hammering on things there. Let's slam it. There we go. Hit him with the bicycle. Okay, yeah, so this one runs really good. So here we've got Octopath Traveler. This is the first one. This is a couple years old. But you can see there, it runs really, really well. And I can't stress enough how kind of discolored I think this camera is making the game. Because it looks, I'm bouncing between the viewfinder and the actual screen, and the screen is just so much crisper and clear. It's a little bit kind of washed out here because of the bloom effect and stuff like that. It's kind of wreaking havoc on the camera. But you can see it plays really smooth. I just want to try to trigger a combat. There we go. There we go. So you can see some sprites and things go off. I think he's got a special ability somewhere. Yeah, so that's also another one that just runs right out of the gate. Default, no option changes. Now here we have Trials of Mana, another game that's a few years old. This one did require some setting changes. Proton 10-2, game presets. This is the most up-to-date, or one of the most up-to-date. It's the 253R11. And then down here, 2621, and then 213. On the Direct 3D. So we'll just pop into this game. Okay, here's another nice one here. This is a nice like cell shaded look on this one here. Very good FPS, almost 60. This one is a few years old, and I would say even in its time it wasn't a AAA game by any means, maybe a AA. But it's one of those action RPGs. That's kind of fun. Runs very, very well, just with some minor changes to the configuration. Now this is the very first one I put on here because I was like, oh man, this is the perfect UFO 50 machine here. And so it's really great to have my cloud save. Not that I did a whole ton in this game, but you know, just this is just a fun game. So many, if you guys aren't familiar with UFO 50, you know, I don't, it's very cheap, and you've got like, oh, I hate this one. I just picked a random game. But yeah, so it's just 50 random games that are sort of like, I'll do a different game. Sort of tied together. There's like a little bit of a backstory and stuff. Let's find one I like. Here we go. I like this one. This is sort of like an old school RPG game. A first person RPG. Like Eye of the Beholder or something. Let's find a monster. Here we go. Yeah, right. It's an action RPG in the style of Eye of the Beholder. There we go. Good job. And then I gotta cast some spell on there. Anyway, so UF50, it just runs right out of the gate. You know, no adjustments or anything. Perfect. This one is the Final Fantasy VI Pixel Remaster. I did have to change one thing, which was the proton arm from the 9.3 to 10.0. So we'll just fire this up. And I just showed this one last year. If you watched some of those videos, you know I played through Final Fantasy 1 through 5 on the Pixel Remaster. And then I was kind of burnt out by that point. So by the time I got to 6, which is like everybody's favorite, then I was a little burnt out. Now I played this as a kid, so I'm pretty much to the end, but I'm kind of like want to just start over and just play through it, because coming right off of Final Fantasy 5, nobody cares about any of this. I think 5 is my favorite actually, and I played 6, and 6 was actually a little bit of a letdown for me. But I think it's nice now that it's on this particular device, because then I can kind of just pick up and play it in like little spurts, which is what I think will be handy. So I'll probably finish it that way. And I think I'm just gonna start over with it and just kind of come at it with some fresh eyes. So anyway, just wanted to show that one. I expect all the Pixel remasters will work fine with that one change. So here we've got Loop Hero. Again, this is a default. This won't be the only Devolver style, you know, game that I show on here. But again, this just started no changes to any of the options or anything like that. So yeah, but yeah. So this one works. This one's a little bit tricky to try to control and manage everything as you go. But so this one works great out of the box. I'll show a couple more like this one. I really like Loop Hero. It was a lot of fun a couple of years ago. This is East 9, which is a lot like East 8. So we'll fire this up. The only change here again is the Proton to version 10. And again, I have a New Game Plus save on like whatever this one. This one has like 8 difficulty levels. This is like insanity or something. Let's see how quickly I die. But you can see this one runs really well. I really like this one. This is the one I really want to try to play just from a pure like, oh, there's a boss here, huh? Oh, watch me die really quick. Can I skip this? Yep. All right. So we'll skip that event. And yeah, I know how to evade. So you can just see the frame rate here on a boss. Whoop. Dead. Okay. Anyway, so that's enough. I'm not going to bore you. But that's another one. It's like kind of new, you know, not that new, but it's a good little action game that this will run. And now this one's Sunhaven. I don't remember. Let's take a look at the settings here. So regular Proton 9, default driver, everything is default. So okay, everything was defaulted. All right, so this one to show, this is the little farm I have. I haven't played this in actually a while, but I got this on here just because I was like, oh yeah, I'm actually probably just going to start a new character here, and you know, and kind of remind myself how to play the game. But yeah, you get a farm simulator, and there's like combat and bosses and all that kind of stuff. I think it's basically Stardew Valley, but it's just a little bit more combat oriented. So there's like dungeons and things like that. So it's a very nice, beautiful colored game. but I don't remember. The devs are douchebags, I guess. I don't really remember what they did. This is the Legend of Nayuta, Boundless Trails, and this is all default settings except for the Proton again is the version 10, and this is how do I explain this game? I guess it's like a little action RPG, kind of Zelda-esque, and yeah, it's just got some sort of like a 3D side scroller type of thing. This is several years old. I think it was originally a PSP release, so this is like the PC remaster for that. But yeah, this is just a cool little game. It's a lot of fun. I haven't played this in several months, but it's something I want to try to check out and play again on the go. It's kind of a nice game for that. And this game we know about, I mentioned this one. This is the second of these kind of roguelike games. This is Vampire Survivors, if you guys aren't familiar with it. But yeah, this one works great right out of the box. No configuration changes, just download it and go. Alright, enough of that. I'm more excited to show you this one, which is Ball Pit or Ball X Pit, not sure which. I just started playing this one yesterday, and let's just get to the fun stuff here. These are... Yeah, so this is another one of these roguelite. This one's more like a bullet hell shoot 'em up kind of. And yeah, this one just worked right out of the gate. There's nothing really to do here. So this one works fantastic. You know, there's no slowdown even when there's a bunch of stuff on the screen, and you know, everything works really well. High FPS. There's no FPS showing on this, but I'm sure it's at 60. And this is a really fun game, by the way. And it's fantastic. It's perfect for this form factor. I mean, this is almost a mobile game, but a really good one. So anyway, this one works really cool. So I thought I would just show some of these. So this is a brand new game, and this is a day old, basically, or a couple days old now. And yeah, it works fantastic. So, you know, I'm not going to get any Elden Ring or, like I said, Doom Dark Ages on here. But, you know, brand new games that are small on the footprint in terms of memory and GPU and CPU usage are going to work just fine. The next one here is the Suikoden 1 and 2 HD Remaster. You notice this one just says playable. Oh, I tapped it there, but yeah, I didn't make any changes. I just played around with it a little bit. I'm a little ways into the first game, Suikoden 1, and it seems to be playing fine. I'll just show you a little bit of footage here. But yeah, I didn't make any changes, so maybe there's some interruptions or something like that that come down the road. I'm not really sure. Yeah, so you can see this obviously is going to run at 60 FPS. And it's a really beautiful game. I mean, it's a really good remaster too. Yeah, let's do auto. Yep. This is another one that has the little bar at the top there. I'm not really sure what that's about. It doesn't bother me. It goes away after a while. Yeah, so this is another good one. Just have one more in Gamehub Lite to show you. Or two more, actually. I forgot about one. This one, Yeast 10. So we've got 8, 9, and 10 all loaded on here. This one, again, just change the Proton version, and then it'll work good. This one looks even better, so I can't wait to show you the graphics on this one. Actually, I want to show you two parts of this game, because this one has like a sailing component, which is a lot of fun. So it's kind of like a mini sailing game, and this, you know, works really well here. So we'll get over to some combat and show you that. This is a new game. It's about a year old, maybe a little less even, and yeah, it's really good. So it's got your typical East combat, but also has like this cool like ship mini game here. So we're gonna fight. I don't know what the heck I'm doing here with the control. See how cool that looks? That's so awesome. This looks great. I just don't know where the controls are because there we go. So yeah, you can see it's got really good FPS and smooth sailing and stuff. I'm trying to control this with this funny angle. But yeah, this is cool. So we're gonna let's load up another game. Yeah, here we go. So this is just, I mean, East 8 and 9 look really good, but this one is just obviously a new way to do the engine here. Oh, that was rude of me. Watch out. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just sailing around here. Okay, so you get the idea. Last one for Gamehub Lite is FANTASION Neo Dimension, which is kind of like a remaster, remake of an older game. This one's about a year old itself. Just had to change again the Proton from 9 to 10. And this is a kind of a Final Fantasy style RPG here with some really interesting backgrounds and things like that. These are like hand painted or something backgrounds. They're like 3D sculpted backgrounds. Let's go to a better spot. Let's warp to somewhere. Oh, let's go into here. Go to Machine City. Alright, so we'll run in here and just show a little bit of combat. It does that little stutter when it loads a checkpoint, but it normally looks really good. Yeah, so, oh wait, how do I trigger combat? I forget. There we go. In this game, you queue up combats and you can fight a whole bunch of people at once. I didn't do that many. You can get a lot more characters on the screen there. There's an Arth. Yeah, so you can see it's a pretty game. I did not care for it. I almost beat it and then gave up because I did not like how the end treated me. I might go back to it. But this is another one that works out pretty well out of the box, just the Proton 10 change. All right, so now we're going to go to Winlator. So I've launched Winlator, and these are all games that are installed directly on the device here, and but not through Gamehub and not through Steam. So there's no Steam cloud saves here, which is the only bummer about Winlator. Now the way Winlator works, if you're not familiar, just to give you a general overview. We have here, if that will focus, the white might be throwing it off, so I'm going to put my hand in here. So you create a container in here, and you just go and create a container. We'll launch the container. And you can see it's like basically a Windows desktop. So I've got folders and things like that in here. And inside of here, I'll make shortcuts or install games. So I might copy Steam installs from my PC. So I'll have Steam on my PC, download the game on there, grab the folder, copy it to my device here, and then put it in the download folder on the root directory. The one thing to keep in mind is all these Gamehub games and Winlator games, they must run directly on the internal storage, not on the SD card. You can't do that. So we'll go ahead and close out of this. And inside of here, you're going to end up making these shortcuts. So I'll close out of this. It'll go back to my shortcut place here. And some of these are Steam games. So here we have Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake, which I pulled off Steam. Final Fantasy 12, same thing. Luftrausers and Necromunda. Some of these are GOG, Good Old Game installs as well. So we're just going to run through some of these here. So this is, for some reason, this shows up as compatible on Gamehub Lite, but I could not get it to work. So I was like, God, that's weird. So I downloaded it from Steam, which is like several gigs, and then put it on here. And then I don't know that I'd made, okay, so here's the configuration. So this is a little bit more, you know, software engineer level type of stuff here. So one thing you'll see with Winlator, and again, this is Winlator-Frost. So I'll have a link to that. Just go get the latest version of that. And then inside of here, you can change your types of graphics. So you've got Turnip, which is basically meant for this type of device. It's the, what are they called? The Turnip drivers, Adreno drivers. You got Vortec, which I think is like the default, and then you've got VIRGL, so like an OpenGL thing. So this particular game, I use the Turnip driver, and then here you can see the version, so you can go and click the little download, save icon there and get new ones. But I just, this is the default, I think, 2510. So change that. The wrapper, Pulse, sometimes I think it defaults to also, I'm not sure, we'll look at the others, but Pulse Audio, the wrappers, DXVK, the rest of this is all unchanged. There's no environment variables. I'll show you one that has like so many of these. Advanced, set to performance. I think that's the only thing that I might have changed if I changed anything in here. I think it's, I can't remember, I think it's intermediate by default, I'm not sure. But this one's performance. And so I'm excited to do this one, so let's just fire it up. So here it's just the intro piece, and I apologize because I wanted to show you more of the game in Gamehub Lite, but I've completed the game. I did it last year. But I'm excited for the Dragon Quest I and II HD 2D remake, and to play that. That comes out in a couple of days. But this one runs great. I played through this a little bit. I just never saved it. I got into the first town and stuff like that, and had a couple of fights and things like that. So you can see it runs really, really smooth, and looks very colorful, and everything looks really good on there. I mean, look at the waterfall and all this stuff. Look at the water. Anyway, but yeah. So this one runs really good on here. I don't know why it didn't work for me on Gamehub Lite, but I wanted to get it over here to see if this would work. Hopefully with the new one coming out in a couple days, I get that to work as well. Now next we'll take a look here. This is Final Fantasy XII, the Zodiac Age, which is like a remake of an old game. So again, Turnip Adreno, let's look at the version 2510. Everything else here, DVXK, Pulse Audio. I don't think there's any environment variables. Advanced performance, maybe performance is the default. Yeah, so, and this is another one that was supposed to work on Gamehub Lite. This other one, Luftrausers, this is an old indie game. I think this works fine on Gamehub Lite. I had installed this on here already before they really started announcing Gamehub Lite and stuff. This one, let's just take a look at the settings here just for fun. This is the Vortex Universal, so that's kind of like the default driver. Everything else in here is default for Winlator-Frost. Let's see, advanced. Okay, intermediate, maybe that is the default. Yeah, so this is all default, nothing else. And this is just a very small indie game. And this again is copied over from my Steam download and then copied over to here. Yeah, this is a really fun game. I forget how to shoot. There we go. Yeah, so this one runs good. I mean, full, great FPS and all kinds of nonsense. This game is silly, but it's really good. This one is Necromunda Hired Gun. This is a first-person shooter. Again, this one was marked as like totally playable on Gamehub Lite. It didn't work, and I was like, oh, I love this game. So here we go. Turnip Adreno. Select that. This is 2510. Okay. Everything else here, Pulse Audio. All this is the same. Let's see. No environment variables. Advanced. Intermediate. Yeah. See, this is like I didn't really do a lot to work here. This one will take a minute to load, so we'll skip ahead. Yeah, so this is a first-person shooter. I mean, this probably was, I don't know about AAA, but like AA. Yeah. It's hard to control because I need to use the triggers, and the triggers are on the ground. Oh, climb up that. But this is a really fun game. I really like this game. And it's set in Necromunda, which is a cool world. If you guys aren't familiar with it. Oh yeah, that's right. You gotta jump over this thing. Yeah, let's see if I can do it. Nope. I don't know what I'm doing. Yeah, I did it earlier. But yeah, this, for some reason, this is a huge game too. So it's 43 gigs or something. But yeah, it's a fun one. Okay, now this one I just wanted to show here. This actually had a GOG download from. So let's take a look at the setting. This is a little interesting. So Virgil, the OpenGL graphics, let's take a look at the 3.1. Okay. The wrapper is Wine Direct 3D, right? And the auto driver is ALSA. The rest of this is the same, but that's all of these are different than we've seen. Advanced, we'll skip to that. Intermediate, okay, it's nothing else. But this one you can see, look at all these environment variables. You have to set all of these up, and this is just to get the controls to work. I'll put a link to a little YouTube short that has all of those in there, and you can copy and paste them out of the description of that video. But I'll just fire this up. Like I said, I have the GOG version of this, so I didn't really feel like paying for it on Steam because I'm not really going to play it that much. I played it ages ago and just kind of fell off it. But yeah, so it's just one thing to note that to get it to work on Winlator, you need to do all those settings there if you don't have a Steam download, and I'm sure it works fine on Gamehub, Gamehub Lite. So yeah, just wanted to show that and then show some of those settings in case you have the GOG version of it. All right, so let's take it. This other one, this is also a GOG purchase. This is Wizardry. So this one you see Vortec, DXVK, also native. I think that's all default, intermediate. Yeah, so all this is intermediate or default stuff. So we'll fire this up. So this one is a remake of the old original Wizardry from like 1979 or something. So it's just a first-person little dungeon crawling RPG. And I assume I'm going to run into some monsters here. I think they're down here we go. Gonna fight some kobolds. There we go. Everybody's gonna. I don't want to inspect, just defend. There we go. So yeah, this is a cool little game here. Runs fine. I mean, I don't know if it runs on Gamehub Lite, but like I said, sometimes you get them on sale somewhere else, and you got the option here to run them directly on there, but you don't get the cloud saves. That's the main problem. Just got a few more to go here. This is an interesting one. I think this is all default stuff. Yep, Vortec, DVXK, ALSA, Intermediate. Yeah, didn't change anything here. This is actually like a little indie made by a guy. He made a remake of Zelda II. So here we go. Just gonna fire this up. So as you can see, it's widescreen support, which is pretty cool. I think this is technically called the Zelda II Adventure of Link Remaster. So this is a cool little thing that you got here. And so he made some other changes besides, you know, small graphics tweaks to the to make it widescreen and so on. Oh, there is one thing you want to do here. Let's actually get out of here. And I forgot about this. Exit that. So sometimes you got to put in a parameter here. Let's see, what did I put in here? We're down here, force full screen in this case, because it opens up in a weird kind of misshapen window in this particular case. So that's just another thing maybe to look at there. Yeah, so anyway, I just wanted to show that because that's also the nice thing about this is the PC, you know, there's just this massive community of developers and people doing different things. And, you know, sometimes it's fun to get those and play around with those. And we'll see a couple more examples of that here. Here, we've also got the good old games Doom 1, Doom 2. This is all default stuff. Vortec, DVXK, ALSA, intermediate presets. Yeah, so we can just go into one of these. I think I have a game or two of this. Let's look. Single player, load game. Oh, what? I thought I saved some games. Maybe not. Maybe that was something else. Let's see. Knee dip here. Hurt me plenty. Yeah, okay. Lord, what this? Am I way off there? No. Yeah, so, you know, it is Doom. It works. If you want to play Doom, you can. I think a Gamehub Lite one will probably work too. Just kamikaze it in here. Okay. And while we're talking about it, same idea here with Heretic and Hexen. Again, this is just all default out of the box stuff. This is just Doom Fantasy. I'm just running around because I'm looking through the viewfinder, not at the actual screen. Yeah, okay guys. Anyway, you get the idea. And then here we have System Shock 2. I don't think there's any changes here. This is all default stuff here. Let me check that. That's intermediate, yeah. Let's take a look at that, fire this up. Yeah, this is another one I got on a deep GOG discount. Have not even really played it, but it's a remaster of System Shock 2, so it's a little bit updated. But I haven't even gotten to any combat or anything, but it runs good, just like basically right out of the box there. So far. I mean, as smooth as this runs, I don't quite expect it to, you know, to take too much of a hit when you know, we get some encounters, because this is not really a super action heavy game either. But yeah, this one runs out of the box there. So we got one more to show you. And this is the last one, this Pico 8. So there's nothing really to change here. All of these settings are as normal. Same with Advanced C, Intermediate. Now this one, there is a, oh wait, it's in here, isn't it? Ah, here it is. So we're in Advanced, and we're going to go to the bottom. We want to put this little path here. And so what Pico 8 is, it's almost like its own little console. And so you can get it for Linux and for Windows. And the Android one is not super hot. So instead of running the Android version of it, which is like a kind of a bastardized version of the Linux one, I just put the Windows one on here. And so this is a license, I think it's like $8 to buy, but then you get like hundreds and hundreds of games for free. And so you want to put your little root path to where you have your carts, and then have the -explore parameter there. And that, the reason we do that is so, let's fire this up. So this is going to boot up the Pico 8 environment here. And so we want to get into here. So now I have all of these little carts, so, you know, these different games that I've downloaded. And what these are, Pico 8, if you're not familiar, is these are games that are compiled into a PNG image. So all of the game code and everything is saved in the image. The game is like 50K size. Let's find a fun one. So I'm a sucker for shoot 'em ups. So we see that. Okay, that looks okay. The pony looks a little washed out, but there's a lot of stuff going on the screen here. Oh, I'm not paying attention. Yeah, so anyway, it's just these little like Game Boy-esque games. They're all free once you get the license, and they're just really cool. So if you want to load something like that up, it's pretty neat there. Okay, so that's just a few extra games here on Winlator. And hopefully, you know, if folks, you know, are curious about certain games, you know, we've kind of covered them here with Gamehub Lite and stuff. And of course, you know, you can always stream stuff. The one nice thing about this is this top screen. Just kind of zoom out a little bit here. This top screen runs at 120 hertz. And I think everything's set at 60 right now, because I don't usually, yeah, so it's at 60. So if I'm just playing like, you know, retro games or something, I don't worry about it. And if I'm, especially if I'm playing the dual screen games here, then if you set this to 120, this bottom screen is like a little bit weird because the screen technically can't go to 120, but it kind of fakes it out. So it looks like a little distorted. Like, I don't know, it's barely noticeable really. So I could probably just leave it at 120. But that's really good for streaming because the input latency and all that stuff seems to be a lot better if you're streaming over GeForce Now or you know, Xbox Cloud. So anyway, hopefully some of that was useful, and thanks.